So Adim, if you don't know him already, he's a multi-award, and I mean multi, like loads of award-winning chairman and founder of some absolutely massive and successful Muslim organizations. So there's the global charity that is Penny Appeal, and the matrimony platform Single Muslim, which is, I didn't know this, but it's the biggest Muslim website in the whole of the UK. And if that wasn't enough, you should know that he spends his spare time running marathons, taking walks with lions, yes, real lions, and he's even a Guinness World Record breaker, not once, but twice. Bro, you're making us look bad.
Oh man, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So bro, Jazakallah khair for me, for joining me. Like I said, I'm really, really excited because I believe that your vision, your experience is amazing, and the impact you've had is unbelievable. I mean, there's going to be children who are going to be born, alhamdulillah, because of like the work you did, man, and all that stuff. That's deep.
You know what? We were set up nearly 20, well, if I'm being precise, 19 years ago. So those children that were born as a result of the website in the first year of us launching, and there was many, are now at the age of eligibility at 18 years old to go back on the website themselves.
That's so deep. That's amazing. I love that. Okay, amazing, mashallah. So the first question I got for you, Adim, right? This is like unscripted, right? What was 10-year-old Adim like?
10-year-old Adim like? I can't remember a lot about what I was like at 10 years old. However, mainly from family, and they tell me now, is like, you know, I loved making things. I loved Lego. I loved just kind of like just making things in the garden, and I remember a little bit of tree houses, whatever it was, just kind of like finding old caravans and just like making little houses in there, and just kind of like you just going on little missions, I guess, and just getting out there and exploring, pushing myself, and just pushing boundaries.
And what did you want to be at that age? Do you remember when you were younger? Like, what did you actually want to be when you grew up?
It might be the wrong thing to say,
Go on.
at the moment, but I wanted to be Michael Jackson.
Okay, amazing. All right, that's good.
The moonwalk, man. I was like doing the moonwalk to school and back, you know, that kind of thing. But
can you still moonwalk? That's what I want to know.
You know, the kids, I'm sick. I'm sick at moonwalking. I'm a pretty good moonwalker, definitely.
Okay. Well, I want you to send us a clip afterwards so I can edit it in there. Amazing. Okay, so Adim, like, you know, it's very strange because for me, like, obviously I've known about you for a while. And I've known you about like Penny Appeal and this stuff. But as I started looking into it, I was like I'm inspired very easily. I see a brother on the street, he's just doing something very small. I get inspired very easily. But it takes a lot to impress me. And as I was going through your stuff, I was like really, really impressed, mashallah. And then at the same time I was looking at you, I'm like, this brother seems so down to earth and things like this. So like, tell me, like, how did this all start, bro? How did we get from like, you know, just being that kid who plays to Lego to actually, you know, having the biggest site in the world when it comes to marriage and stuff for Muslims?
Yeah. No, I think firstly it's all a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, everybody tries hard. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're a billionaire or a trillionaire, it's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put you there. And if you're working the hardest you can and you're grafting and you're not able to even pay the rent or pay your way, that's because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. It's not because you're trying any harder or you're any smarter or you're any better in terms of your abilities. It's just because you've not been given that opportunity. But in terms of the story, my journey really began when I was 8 years old, and tragically I lost my father. lost my father, and at that time I didn't know how much of a big deal or an impact that would have on my life as an individual. I remember, taking daffodils from the garden to the hospital. I knew my father wasn't well, but taking daffodils for him, and it was quite serious because the imam used to be there on a regular basis, and a lot of the family travelled from up and down the country, even from abroad, to come. So as a child, I knew that there was it was very, very serious. But you take things for granted. You're thinking, okay, that's the new norm. Father's going to be in hospital. That's it. And then one day I came back from school, and I remembered we lived in a mid-terraced house, and the street was just jam-packed of cars. You just couldn't get anywhere because of the cars. And got to the house, and there were just shoes littered outside on the street, in the front garden, and the hallway was just crammed. and I walked in, and everybody just looking at me and staring at me. And then my father's coffin was in the hallway, mid-terraced house, very narrow. Half of the hallway was taken by a coffin, and my auntie's she's looking down at me, and she's saying, "What's going to happen of you? What's going to become of you? What's going to become of you?" And she's looking up and she's saying, "God, why have you done this? Why have you taken his father? What is he going to do? You know, he's never going to be able to do this. He's never going to be able to do that." And literally just there and then, she just made a judgment. This is you now. You're done. You're finished. There's nothing more. I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, and just that I think I buried that in my head for so many years, and only recently have I started, when people have, you know, like yourself, Arshad, when people have said to you, okay, what's your journey? Where have you come from? Why have you done this? And I've started revisiting that memory. And I think I hid that for many years. And I remember as a child at school, we were in the playground, and one of the children in the class came and says, "Oh, Adeem, your father's called deceased." So I used to know your father's called John and your father's called Mark and whatever. Adeem, your father's called deceased. And I didn't have a clue what he was talking about. My father's called deceased. And anyway, we went back to class, and the teacher's like, "Calm down, everybody. His father's not called deceased. His father is deceased, which means his father's no longer here." And then everybody started to treat me differently in school. It's like, "Oh, Adeem hasn't got a father." And I guess at that point you think to yourself, well, you know what? I don't want to be any less than anybody else. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has dealt me this hand, and you've got to deal with the hand that you've been given. So I haven't got a father, I haven't got a father. You know, it just doesn't mean that I'm disabled in some way, or doesn't mean that I'm any less than anybody else. It's just that's just the way it is. You know, some people have got different, you know, you might be able or disabled in many different ways. But it wasn't just at school, I guess it was at home as well, when people were, you know, this is Yunus's son, not that Yunus. This is this Yunus who's not, you know, passed away. This is so and so. He's a yatim.
It became like an identity, right?
It almost became like an identity. You're right. You're right. And I only kind of like overcame that identity once that I was at high school, I guess. And I didn't want people, because it was a new set of friends and a new environment. People didn't know me, so I didn't tell people about my home life or what, you know, my personal circumstances. My high school, literally, there's three Asians in the whole of the high school, so it was a very white, kind of like middle class high school as well. So there wasn't a lot of kind of like friendships where people would come to the house and whatnot. So, you know, but that's when I started to, I guess, create my own identity, like you said, and even more so when I was at college, because I studied design and marketing, and I had, you know, like a big component of that was IT, like digital now. And it was only when my teachers, Tony and Ron, who really believed in me and said to me, Adeem, you know, you're really good at, you've got this natural ability for marketing and design and IT. I saw them as almost like these role models, because they had done what I wanted to do. And when we were given work experience, everybody else was given work experiences in maybe a card factory, or somebody was given a work experience in this IT company or whatever. My work experience was 2 weeks at Yorkshire Television.
Wow, okay.
Yorkshire Television was massive, and I was like, wow. And they're like, no, you're going to do us proud. So I went in, I was smart, and, you know, you go in and you try your best. And it just so happened that, you know, I was the first one there, and I was the last one out. And I think because of the kind of the upbringing that I had as you know, any Asian child, you know, like, you're going to make tea and you're going to make coffee, you're going to clean up, and you're going to, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. I was like, doesn't matter. How many cups of tea do you want? How many coffees do you want? You know, I'll go get you lunch. I'll go get you, you know, whatever. I'll go do your shopping for you. I remember when the Hoover broke down, I jumped on a bus to Argos, picked the Hoover up. One of the directors said, look, how am I going to get my Leeds United tickets? Because, you know, they're on sale and can't get. I said, don't worry. You get yourself off home because you've got so-and-so to do. I'll go and get you Leeds United tickets, and I'll come and I'll bring it back for you. And I was there. I used to do all the photocopying. I used to do all the dog's body work, basically. I know the value of that now. As somebody who employs hundreds of people, I know the value of having a good work experience, or the impression that you leave if you're good as a work experience or as an apprentice because you're hungry for it. But the way that I saw that was that I was immersed, completely immersed in this world where I was learning so much. I was learning about sales, I was learning about marketing, I was learning about kind of print, I was learning about digital, I was learning this whole new world that I didn't even know existed. You know, I was walking past celebrities on a daily basis because this is a news channel, so you've got people coming in for interviews, people like you said in terms of they sat on these chairs and you actually see them walking around like, wow, you've actually got legs. You're a news anchor, you've actually got legs. And I remember one year we were doing this, that year, they were doing the updating the Queen's obituary, the Queen Mother's obituary, sorry. I spent all day pretending that I knew about the fact that the Queen Mother had passed away, when actually she didn't. This is something that news channels do on a regular basis, where they update obituaries of people who are kind of like, you know, at an age or at high risk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, you're so silly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is something that they do, and that was a big learning curve for me as well. Like, wow, this industry is so planned and prepped. And at the end of my 2-week work experience, the guys that were there, they said to me, look, Adeem, you've been phenomenal. And we really, enjoyed having you around, and we'd like to offer you a 6 months work experience.
Wow.
Because they knew I was only at college 4 days a week. So your 5th day, whenever that 5th day is, we'd like you to come back to Leeds. And I was like, wow, you know what I mean? It was like, that was just amazing for me. I couldn't have asked for anything better. I know for them, I might have been a free cleaner, I might have been a free tea boy, I might have been a free researcher. But for me, I was taking on so much and I was learning so much every single minute being there.